Okay, today I thought we would start off by playing a game.
Ooh.
Yeah, are you up for it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how it's going to work.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about 5 somewhat lesser-known conspiracies and or paranormal mysteries.
Okay.
I've come across them, and I hope you haven't heard about them.
Okay.
I'm going to describe each one, and I want to get your reaction to it. I want to hear your initial thoughts without having done any research. I want to know what your gut reaction is to them.
Okay, you'll hear my gut reaction.
Okay, I'm going to start off with the weird and move to the bizarre.
Okay. Is this a scientifically regulated Likert scale, like a continuum of like weird to bizarre? Is this like...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's peer reviewed.
Okay.
And peer reviewed as in my peers on Twitter have reviewed it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so brew some coffee, pull up a chair, and open your mind. This week, science will be reacting to conspiracies she hasn't heard of before over coffee.
Woo!
We'll be right back.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Have you heard the stories of the stairs in the woods that lead to nowhere?
No, unless you're talking about a Nancy Drew book that I've read.
Maybe that's where it came from, because this has been around for a while.
What? Okay.
Okay. So, as the story goes, the first one I want to share is with mysterious staircases hikers have come across in remote wooded areas all over the world. Now you're probably going to say that it's from a house or an old settlement. But listen to this.
Wait a minute now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about stairs going up?
Stairs going up and just like leading nowhere.
Okay, well, right away, we're not on Nancy Drew territory because in the Nancy Drew, I was talking about stairs like built down into the foundation and then just stop, like down into the ground.
Right. No, these stairs, they're just in the middle of the woods and they go up. But people have reported going missing in close proximity to the stairs.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, you want my reactions?
Yeah, I want your reactions.
This reminds me of something we saw in Twin Peaks. In the reboot. Kinda. There was no stairs, but like... Okay, anyway, keep going.
Okay.
There's no stairs, so it's like not related at all.
The stairs are never anywhere close to civilization. It's always in the middle of nowhere, miles from town.
So they're not like old developments or anything?
No.
Okay.
And they're often like stone staircases.
Stone, okay.
When people come across these staircases, most people feel uneasy around them. And so uneasy, in fact, and so scared that they won't even walk up them.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. There's a report of a man who, back in the early 1940s, who was working for the U.S. government as an infectious disease specialist. This just happened roughly after the Roswell incident, so 1947 and on, somewhere in there. I couldn't find an exact date.
Okay.
But this guy, he was sent in to investigate the cases of mutilated animals in the area.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he spent 6 months researching in the area where there was sightings of many staircases, and then they seemed to move at night, and like they weren't there when he went back the next day.
Well, if it's in the middle of the woods, how is he sure that he went to the right spot? Maybe he got lost.
You know, well, we've seen from the show Lost that we just finished watching that people are able to know where they are in the woods and go back to the exact same location and try to retrace their steps.
Yeah, okay.
But he also knows that he's been in that same area because under the stairs, or where the stairs were, the ground appeared to be burned.
Oh, okay. So he'd be there one day. There'd be stone stairs.
Yes.
And then he'd go back the next day and the stairs weren't there, but the ground looked burned.
Correct.
Okay.
So that happened in the U.S., but there's another case that happened in the Philippines.
When?
I couldn't find an exact date or the guy's name, but he was working as a forester worker, and he went absent for several years. Before he disappeared, he said that he climbed up one of the staircases. He came across it and found it, and then there was a stray dog that he was trying to get away from, so he climbed up the stairs. Now, he claims that it was only a couple of minutes had passed by time he went up the stairs and came back down, but when he came back down, it was 5 years had gone by.
Oh my gosh. Really?
According to him, and that's why he was fired, because he was gone for 5 years, but he insists that it was only a couple of minutes from when he went up and came back down.
Okay, so when we're talking about the people who went missing, though, is that related to when the guy in the United States, the infectious disease specialist, was looking where the mutilated dogs were, or are those independent scenarios?
Independent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was in 1947, 48, somewhere in there. And this has been going on. People have been finding these for a very long time.
How many people have gone missing around these?
I couldn't find an exact number right now.
Okay.
It might be worthwhile doing a complete show on this with more exact numbers and everything. But anecdotally, that it was people have gone missing, completely disappeared.
That's really wild. I have not heard this, and I mean, people go missing in the woods all the time, and unfortunately, animals get mutilated by other animals all the time.
But this made it sound that the animal mutilation wasn't something that was commonly found in the area.
Okay. Well, I mean, that could have been just how it was reported. But,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely have to know more. For now, I'm just going to reserve judgment.
Okay.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. And it also has to do with people disappearing national parks, though.
A lot of conspiracy theories have to do with people missing, don't they?
Yeah, alien abduction, this one.
Yeah.
This one caught my attention a few years ago just because of the name. It's referred to as the Missing 411.
The Missing 411?
The Missing 411.
Okay.
So the Missing 411...
is it like 411 people? Or is it...
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Okay.
And I really don't have a good answer for you.
Because 411 is also a number you call to get information, or you used to anyway. For us old people before the internet, you'd call 411.
Yeah, but it just refers to a group of documented cases of people who have gone missing primarily in national parks in the U.S., but other remote places as well. Just as a note, though, the National Park Service Board doesn't keep an independent list of people who have gone missing in their parks.
Why not? Doesn't that kind of seem logical?
It does, but
okay.
But they do keep there is a database of incidences of criminal activity, criminal reports, but it's not widely shared or used in other criminal databases and investigations necessarily.
Okay. So they're not making life easier by sharing between different law enforcement agencies and things like that, by helping solve missing persons cases. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So in these reports, not everybody has gone missing and stayed missing. Some people were found hours or days later. But when they were found, the amount of time that had passed, because they would be found in kind of remote areas, physically impossible to get to in the time frame that they were missing. And
Are we sure about that?
That's what the reports say.
Okay.
And oftentimes, like they are small children, climbing up a side of a mountain and getting miles or kilometers away from where they were.
Climbing up the side of a mountain with a small child?
Yeah, like
do you mean hiking?
No, like sometimes the kids were found like at the top of mountains or at the bottom, where you would have had to have hiked or climbed a mountain or down a mountain. That's what I mean. Like they're in these remote places.
Oh, I thought you meant they went missing while they were hiking, climbing up the side of a mountain with a small child. And like, what are they doing? Like strapping the kid on their back as they go like rope climbing up, the sheer cliff.
Right. No, I think because they are national parks, that there's trails that you can go for walks on and that sort of thing, and stop and have lunch and
for a little picnic.
But these people have gone missing, and the ones that were found far away.
Okay. Dissociative fugue?
Possibly, but there's lots of cases.
Because if you have a small child with you, I mean, they can't control what you're doing anyway, and their memory and recall wouldn't be as good. So even if something happened and, mommy or daddy started acting weird, the kids, they wouldn't have the vocabulary either to express that. Children can be really unreliable witnesses because of that. So my vote is for dissociative fugue.
Okay, but how do you explain like the distance where they were found?
Well, yeah, I can't right away because I would obviously need a lot more information.
Of course.
But, for example, we actually know that people who have bipolar can have, with psychotic episodes, you can have bipolar with psychotic features. And part of the manic determination of being bipolar is having that insane energy. So who's to say, these aren't, I mean, bipolar is also really, it's not very common. So I'm not suggesting that, there are thousands of people out there with bipolar, first of all, who have psychotic features and small children and go on dissociative fugues while they're hiking. I'm not saying that. But, maybe it could account for a couple of cases.
Right. Yeah, you never know. There's a lot of cases, so each one would have to be kind of taken individually and looked at. Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they're full of manic energy, they take on things that are also quite uncharacteristic to them. So maybe they do go hiking really rapid and have these, because you don't sleep for 3 days or something, and you're quite excitable in manic episodes, lots of energy. So maybe they're going for a wild hike.
Yeah, maybe. Next up is Stargates, not the TV show or movie.
I was just going to say SG-1.
SG-1. They're supposed to be rebooting it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Archaeologists and treasure hunters have reported discovering similar mysterious structures all over the world.
Oh, did you know that Andy Samberg is going to do a cartoon to make archaeology cool?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yes. You want my reactions?
No, I do. Well, that's going to be good because Indiana Jones, they're going to destroy it, so they need him to rebuild it back up.
But it's going to be a cartoon, though. Unfortunately, it's not going to be actually Andy Samberg acting as an archaeologist. That would be fun, too.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah. But where are we here?
Sorry. If you want my reactions, I'm going to derail you.
So these structures have similar shapes and markings, leading some to believe that they are portals or stargates to other locations around the world or other places off-world.
So these are structures found around the world by archaeologists that are all very, very similar.
Right.
Which then, because of their similarity, has led people to believe that they're portals.
Yes.
For bouncing around the world or elsewhere.
Yes.
Huh.
So
okay.
There's three that are in particular here that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
There's one in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
One in Egypt.
Okay.
And one in Peru. These three in particular have almost identical are almost identical in structure and the markings on it. And as you know, they are far enough away that it'd be hard to kind of replicate that.
Are they all from the same time period? Like, have they been dated?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're all from around the same time period. And all three stargates are located around water reservoirs. So according to this theory, it's the stargates that allowed extraterrestrial beings to process gold from Earth's water.
That seems so random.
Well, it is and it isn't, because
I didn't get gold from the water.
if you haven't listened to the last week's episode, I talked about the Anunnaki and Zachariah Stitchin and his theories about the Anunnaki who came to Earth every 25,000 or 2,500 years in search of Earth's gold. So,
right.
So you're putting these couple of things together, and within Egypt and ancient Babylonian times, these creation myths and Anunnaki stories, and they all centered around gold. So that's kind of, I think, part of the connection there.
Okay, so this seems like a really massive far stretch to me. So my initial reaction is not likely. But when you examine, creation myths and stories, for example, from numerous different cultures, there are often instances that are similar. There are details that can be similar, and that's because if you are a believer in evolution, the world evolved at roughly the same rate, even though we know obviously some countries are more developed than others, but developed generally means because of finances. I think progress around the world could in some ways be similar. And I mean, I haven't seen these. I can't speak to how exact and similar they are, but maybe these are just, examples of different civilizations making massive sundials or something, that they are all kind of progressing at the same time.
Right. With similar markings and...
Yeah, because if it's a sundial or something, I'm trying to think of something logical, right? Some sort of calendar system, like who knows? I can't say.
Right.
But I'd go for something probably a little bit more logical than aliens coming down to get gold out of the water.
Okay, fair enough. Now let's move on to something that's a little more kind of out there.
Okay. And that last one wasn't?
No, that's pretty tame.
Okay.
Have you heard of Quetzalcoatl?
I have. And it's funny because we were at Walmart this morning and we were looking at some toys, and there was a dinosaur in the new Jurassic Park, and the child was trying to pronounce it. And I said, "Oh, is it Quetzalcoatl?" Oh. I swear that was this morning.
Wow.
So, okay, that's a really weird coincidence.
That is a weird coincidence. The Aztecs believe Quetzalcoatl was related to the god of wind, the planet Venus, and the merchant of the arts and crafts and knowledge, right?
Okay.
And Quetzalcoatl means feathered serpent.
Okay. But I swear this was a dinosaur in Jurassic Park.
Right. Well, it's like a lizard, right?
Yeah.
The serpent lizard.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And the serpent god.
Oh my God! Now I gotta get you that toy.
Yeah. So the serpent gods, again, I'll leave a link in the description, the show notes, with last week's episode, because I talked a lot about the reptilian connection, and the historical history of serpents and reptilian creatures interacting with humans. So Quetzalcoatl is also known as the Lizard King, and associated with the arts.
I am the Lizard King.
Yeah. So do you know who else is called the Lizard King?
Yeah. What was I just doing?
Jim Morrison?
Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly.
Exactly. What? That doesn't prove any point.
No. I know. On his own, Jim Morrison was called the Lizard King, and he wrote a poem called The Celebration of the Lizard, and it was first appeared in the sleeve of the Doors album, Waiting for the Sun.
Yep.
Now, ordinarily, this could just be passed off as just another narcissist rock star.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But do you know who their record producer was?
No.
Paul A. Rothschild.
Okay, I recognize that last name.
Right. So the Rothschilds, as you know,
is he part of that family?
Yeah, are part of the Illuminati and the Babylon Brotherhood, who are said to be descendants of reptilian shapeshifters from the Draco star system, some 50 million light years away from us.
Okay, so that record producer is part of the Rothschild family, or
Yes.
because it is a common.
No, it is. He
Okay,
is. He's
okay.
part of the Rothschild thing.
Okay. Thing.
Well, we don't know what they are because
Well, you could probably still say family.
family. Okay.
Aliens could have families.
I guess they could have families.
Right?
So was the Illuminati, Babylon Brotherhood, attempting to bring Quetzalcoatl, the Lizard King, back to human form with Jim Morrison?
Okay, that's weird.
But he
was just a guy.
He was just a guy, but through magical incarnations, and I'll talk about this in future episodes with Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, doing black magic rituals and that sort of thing, dark magic. So it's just an interesting coincidence that he would call himself the Lizard King, and he would have a record producer, someone working for him, working with him, being part of the Illuminati, Babylon Brotherhood.
It's not a coincidence that he would call himself the Lizard King because he was into Native American culture. He did a lot of, what is it, mescaline?
Peyote?
Yes, and hallucinated a lot.
Right, so what better person to bring on Quetzalcoatl and
I
embody
guess.
his spirit?
Yeah, I don't buy it. I think it's a stretch. That's a confirmatory bias where you're seeing patterns and seeing things because you want to see them.
You just don't like the Doors.
Excuse me. I had 2 of their albums.
All right.
2. I had 2.
Okay, so for our final one,
Okay.
our final one today, last but probably least, is the no forest theory. Have you heard of this one?
No, did you say this is probably least as
Yeah,
well? Okay.
exactly.
Well, you really set the expectations high for
Yeah, I
this
know.
one. Okay.
Aren't you guys glad you stuck around for this one?
Yeah.
The no forest theory is by far the most bizarre on the list. If you're not familiar with the backstory, here it goes. There are no forests as we know them today. They're forests, but they're just kind of like low-lying hanging trees, shadows of their former glory. They said that they would have 40-mile-high trees with 2-mile-across trunks.
What? Who said that?
Yeah, these oftentimes they're flat earthers. This is an extension to the flat earth theory. And
You've lost me.
how do we know this, though? That there used to be these massive giant trees, is that their stumps were left behind. The flat tops of mountains are the remnants of these behemoth trees, cut down by some impossibly large machine, and the jagged mountaintops are the stumps that were knocked over or fell over by some great cataclysm, nuclear war, or fire.
Is this a German fairy tale?
No, this has been actually gaining a lot of traction, probably in the last 10 years.
Why? That's ridiculous. Has anybody actually looked at the cellular structure of these? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, they claim that over time the cellular structure and the makeup of the trees form the basis of rocks and sediment and that kind of stuff. And
So trees turn into mountains.
yes, because they look like trees and mountains. Like the cut off tree stumps look like some big mountain ranges. Yeah, so they think that because of the look and shape of all the mountains, that it's just these remnants of these giant trees, and the structure changes over time. I get what we have now, what we refer to as trees, they're more like plants. They would have been more like plants back in the day.
So if this were actually a thing,
Mm-hmm.
where are these giant machines? Where's the record of giant machines to cut down these giant trees? Where's the...
Well, obviously from the advanced civilization before humans, which we'll get into in another episode. That theory has a lot more credibility, I think, than the tree thing, but it kind of ties into it, so I can understand why they were saying where these giant machines and technology came from, because after a couple million years, any trace of a civilization would disappear. And everything that we see today, if we were to just disappear tomorrow, in a million years, we would never, all that we know and see would be completely gone. So that's kind of what they're saying, that there's a civilization before humans, when these trees were ginormous, and maybe that's when like the Nephilim, the giants.
Some things don't break down, though. Some things don't break down.
Well, a lot of stuff does. And a lot of the stuff, well, like, it takes time, but everything will eventually break down.
So we're living on the earth and the grass and the trees and the dirt that is made up of remnants of giant mountains and machines that cut them down a million years ago?
Well, more than a million years, but yeah, that's the idea.
Nah, I don't buy it.
Yeah, for me too. Like, I think the no forests and the flat Earth, that kind of that tests my limit of where I can go and believe in. I know a lot of people had commented on our flat Earth video about just blindly trusting science, but there's certain things that I think that are a little easier to believe in and more credible than the flat Earth and the no forest theory.
Yeah, and like with science, even if you personally haven't done the experiment, you can probably find records and videos and whatnot if you really want to get back down to witnessing science. Like the whole thing about science is predicated on the fact that it is evidence. So
yeah, and I think that's one of the big arguments that a lot of flat earthers have, is that we're blindly trusting science, and we didn't perform the experiments ourselves. We haven't been to Antarctica to see the ice wall.
But I have done experiments. I might not have done every single experiment, but I at least understand the scientific method, and I've done experiments.
Right, but not necessarily like any experiment. We're talking about like flat Earth experiments specifically here. So people, like, you haven't gone up into a hot air balloon and saw the curvature of the Earth, and you haven't been to space to see space. That's the point that they're making.
Yeah. That's a logical fallacy, so that's okay. I get you. You're just telling us what the people are telling us.
Exactly.
That's okay. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
All right.
So those are the 5 crazy, wacky, and unexplainable conspiracy / paranormal mysteries.
Well, that was fun. I liked doing that. I like hearing these new things being brought to my attention and seeing, what I think of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think, obviously some of them are a little bit more out there than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them I'd just love to know more information, like about the people who go randomly missing in the national parks, or about those weird staircases in the woods. Certainly I'd love to know more. But some of it's a little far out there, yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you folks think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Leave us a comment and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We just passed our 200 mark, so thank you very much, everyone, for subscribing.
Thanks, everybody.
If you haven't subscribed already, head over to our YouTube channel. We'll leave a link in the show notes.
As always.
And hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you can get notified every time we release a new video and podcast.
And we're doing contests too when we hit different milestones. So it's definitely worth your while to subscribe and get the notifications on so that you can be alerted when we have another contest.
Yeah, it's our road to 1,000 subscribers. So the next milestone will be 500.
Yeah. So it's very exciting. Thank you very much, everybody, for your support so far. Keep supporting us. I don't know what else you've got to say there, Conspiracy, but I'll just throw in my little tagline here because thank you for supporting us. Stay curious, but rely on the facts.
All right, and yeah, that's it for me for this week. We'll see you next time, and remember, being paranoid is smart. Take care, everybody. This week's episode of Science vs. Conspiracy Over Coffee was produced by Lethologica. Research and writing was done by Bob Homer and Jennifer Timer.